Number 7. Flying Wallendas. The Flying Wallendas is a group of high-wire performers known for daredevil stunts executed without the use of a safety net. The family-based group was put together by patriarch KARL Wallenda in 1922. Their act debuted at Madison Square Garden in 1928. They went ahead with the performance even though their safety net had been lost in transit, and eventually received a standing ovation. The Wallendas rose in popularity as a circus act, but throughout their history have been plagued by a number of devastating accidents. One of their most impressive and famous acts involved a 7-chair human pyramid. During a 1962 performance in Detroit, Michigan, tragedy struck the Wallendas. The front man on the wire faltered and the pyramid collapsed. KARL Wallenda's nephew and his son-in-law were both killed in the drop, while his adopted son was paralyzed from the waist down. Another performer bounced off a quickly raised safety net and severely injured her head. Also known as funambulism, tightrope walking involves traversing the length of a wire or rope by walking across it. The practice dates back to ancient Greece, when it was associated with jesters and other entertainers. From a biomechanical point of view, tightrope walking requires the acrobat to maintain their balance by positioning their center of mass directly over the rope. To distribute their weight, they might use a long pole or keep their arms outstretched. Since its inception, acrobats have enhanced the practice by including animals, object manipulation, ladders, and other objects in their acts. The quest for greater challenges has also produced a number of fatal falls and brutal injuries. Number 6. KARL Wallenda. Following the devastating 1962 accident, KARL Wallenda continued to perform. Some of his most notable stunts involved wire walking above the Tallulah Gorge in Georgia and a record-breaking skywalk across 1,800 feet at Kings Island, Ohio. During the Tallulah Walk, Wallenda famously did 2 headstands while crossing the gap, which measured roughly a quarter of a mile. Unfortunately, Wallenda's life would ultimately end in tragedy. In 1978, he tried to walk between 2 10-story towers of a hotel in Puerto Rico when he fell to his death approximately 120 feet. The aerialist, who was 73 years old at the time, is believed to have suffered an adrenaline-induced heart attack during his walk. Wallenda's children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren carried on his legacy, and their act has survived to this day. While mostly known as a circus act, tightrope walking can be performed anywhere on the globe. In South Korea, for example, a traditional tightrope walk called jultagai is included on the country's list of important intangible cultural properties. The Uyghur ethnic group calls their high-wire walking tradition in dawaz. Throughout history, there have been a number of notable walks. Nick Wallenda, KARL Wallenda's great-grandson, walked directly over Niagara Falls and over Nicaragua's Masaya volcano, one of the world's most active volcanoes. Swiss aerialist Freddie Nock tightrope walked between mountain peaks in the Alps, performing the highest ground-supported tightrope walk on record at over 11,580 feet. French aerialist Philippe Petit performed what was referred to as the artistic crime of the century. On August the 7th of 1974, for roughly 45 minutes, he walked a wire between the Twin Towers in New York City. The daring stunt, which Petit and his team had illegally set up, made headlines all over the world. Number 5. Tancrede Melet. In 2016, French daredevil Tancrede Melet fell to his death while preparing a stunt that involved tightrope walking between 2 hot air balloons. An engineer by education, Melet quit his job to pursue his love of extreme sports full-time. He joined a team of like-minded thrill-seekers called the Flying Frenchies. Melet practiced wingsuit flying, base jumping, and tightrope walking at dizzying heights. His team had made videos before as they crossed the slackline, which is a tight nylon cord between 2 air balloons. At the time, they were wearing parachutes, which they would deploy after losing their balance on the line. The stunt, in January of 2016, was supposed to follow a similar structure. Melet was making the final preparations on a hot air balloon that was meant to be anchored to the ground in Drôme, France. However, the aircraft started rising rapidly and Melet kept holding onto the basket. He eventually lost his grip and fell to his death more than 100 feet. Number 4. Richard GUZMAN. In 1972, Richard GUZMAN, also of WALLENDA fame, died during a performance in West Virginia. The man, who was KARL WALLENDA's son-in-law, accidentally touched a live electric wire as he was holding part of a metal rigging. The shock caused GUZMAN to fall from a tower, towards which KARL WALLENDA was walking at the time. The combination of electrocution and the devastating injuries that GUZMAN sustained in the fall proved fatal, adding yet another victim to the WALLENDA's tragic toll. There are several factors that may lead to tightrope accidents, but severe injuries or death is almost exclusively the result of falling from height. It can occur from safety net failures, insufficient tension in the tightrope, or, depending on the height, wind currents. To add an element of danger and excitement to their stunts, aerialists will often forego the use of a safety harness. Some might do it blindfolded or add other daring variations to their walk. A high wire act is performed at over 20 feet above ground, while skywalks typically stretch across great distances, over gorges, waterfalls, or between tall man-made structures. A skywalk may thus occur at hundreds of feet above ground. The margin for error is virtually non-existent at such heights, as a fall will most likely be fatal or at the very least yield life-altering injuries. Number 3. Charles Blondin. 19th century tightrope walker Charles Blondin rose to prominence after crossing the 1,100-foot Niagara Gorge. He performed this walk for the first time in 1859 and on several other occasions, with various theatrical modifications. Blondin did it while carrying his manager, blindfolded, while trundling a wheelbarrow on stilts on his back, and while sitting down midway to cook and eat an omelette. However, one of his performances, which took place in 1860, would end in disaster. At the time, he walked a tightrope at Dublin's Portobello Gardens, suspended about 50 feet above street level. The rope snapped, which led to a collapse of the scaffolding it was connected to. Blondin wasn't hurt, but 2 workers who were on the structure fell to their deaths. A judge would initially find no blame towards the acrobat or his manager, instead claiming that the rope manufacturer was at fault. A bench warrant was later released for the arrest of Blondin and his manager, but in the meantime, the men had returned to the US. Today's topic was inspired by Instagram follower Resident Evil Boy 2001. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below, or follow us on Instagram and reach out to us there. Number 2. Isakaya. Chinese daredevil Isakaya had a brush with death in July of 2012 after falling more than 650 feet. Isakaya, a Uyghur Muslim, was a 6th-generation performer of the high wire tradition. He established a Guinness World Record in 2009 for the fastest tightrope walk across 328 feet, which he performed in just slightly over 44 seconds. For the 2012 stunt, which took place in South China's Yunnan province, the man upped the ante. He walked blindfolded and without the use of a safety harness. Had he completed it, the acrobat would have secured another world record. However, as he was nearing the end of the 2,297-foot-long wire crossing, Isakaya lost his balance and fell towards the raging ravine below. The aerialist was incredibly fortunate, as he struck several branches and bushes, which softened his drop. From a fall that would have killed most performers, Isakaya emerged only with minor injuries. He was subsequently blamed the wind for his fall, claiming that he felt dizzy towards the end of the walk. With the lack of any safety equipment, the aerialist's survival depends primarily on their level of training and focus. The ability to be able to confidently walk a high wire or perform a skywalk is gradually built up by rigorous training at manageable heights. The location of a skywalk should be thoroughly examined, and the rigging should be properly checked. The tightrope itself serves as the main resource of survival if problems should arise. The acrobat may opt to get down on the rope and regain their balance before resuming their walk. They may also let go of their pole or other balancing instruments and simply hang on to the rope until help arrives. It's where physical fitness also plays a major role. As argued by Nick Wallenda, a tightrope walker should be able to support their body weight for at least 30 minutes on the rope. Join the They Will Kill You team by rocking the latest merch from theywillkillyou.com. Order yours today to be one of the first to spread the word. Number 1. Liana Wallenda. The most recent incident to involve the flying Wallendas happened in February of 2017. At the time, the troupe was rehearsing a high wire number for Circus Sarasota. Their 8-person pyramid act was meant to break a Guinness World Record for height. Nick Wallenda and his sister Liana were taking part in the performance. Unfortunately, the pyramid collapsed and 5 acrobats fell to the ground while 3, including Nick, managed to catch the wire. Liana was among those who'd plummeted. It was considered a miracle that no one was killed. All of the acrobats suffered severe injuries, but it was Liana who sustained arguably the worst damage. The woman broke nearly every bone in her face. Additionally, she sustained a broken arm, ankle, ribs, and pelvis. Liana had 72 fixation pins in her face, and some were placed in one of her legs, making it permanently shorter than the other. Her recovery was long, but she eventually made a remarkable return to tightrope walking. In June of 2019, she and Nick became the first people to cross New York City's Times Square on a tightrope. They walked the wire from opposite ends, covering 1,300 feet while suspended 25 stories above street level. Thanks for watching. Would you rather walk a tightrope for 10 feet, 15 feet above ground and without a safety net, or climb into the ring for one round with Mike Tyson? Let us know in the comments section below.